On this Sega Talk, we take a look at Sonic the Hedgehog. No, not that one, and not that one. We're talking about the one for the Master System and Game Gear. What's the story behind this 8-bit version of the Genesis classic? What does it do differently? Find out on Sega Talk.
Sega Bits presents Sega Talk, a podcast talking all things Sega with your hosts, George and Barry.
Look, it's a giant talking egg. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the master here. So what?
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Sega Talk. I'm 16-bit Barry, and with me is 8-bit George.
What's the difference? Well, I guess we're gonna find out, huh? Hi, everybody.
I'm double the bits. Sorry. And on this episode, what?
I like this 8-bit Sonic look. I think it's kind of adorable, to be honest with you. So I'm the adorable one.
You are the cute one. I'm the one with more pixels and more problems. This episode is actually a Patreon picker wheel pick. And that's a new tier that we added to our Patreon. You can check us out at patreon.com/segabits. We have a variety of tiers. We have a variety of incentives. And this new one's actually a wheel that we spin, randomly picks an episode from someone at the picker wheel tier. You might get your pick this month. You might get it next month. But this one's from Ben Hayward. Now, we also have a higher tier, and those people, they get priority picks. They get their pick every month. They get their pick front of the line. So if you are one of those, please get your picks in because we want to keep planning out towards the end of the year. And that's the Patreon plug, guys. That's it. I know some people get really grumpy about them, but that's it. There's no mid-show ad. We don't support manscaping here. We're actually anti-manscaping. They don't make products for hairy men that promotes hairy men. And Sonic's a hairy man. You think about it. Do you think he shaves his stomach? Or do you think that's just...
And the beard, too.
Do you think it's a fur color, or do you think it's like just raw skin?
I mean, I always thought it was kind of weird that he had like raw skin on his stomach and face. But like he was hairy or fluffy. I don't know.
Fluffy?
What do you?
Isn't that comedian Fluffy?
Yeah, he's in Saudi Arabia, right? Anyway,
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
What do you think his texture of his hair would be like? Because they do quills, they do all this other stuff. But what is always in your head?
I mean, the movie kind of did what I suspected, where it's like. It's all hair, but it just happens to be like tan in the middle. Because I never really thought that like his muzzle was completely skin, or his arms. You know, I think the arms are the weird thing. And I kind of get why the movie and why Sonic Boom did the blue arms, because it just makes sense from a actual hedgehog. But in the video games, and especially in this one, I mean, we're not going to talk the sprites, but Sonic's so tiny, little 8-bit Sonic, that if he had blue arms, they would blend in with his body. That's the reason that he has these tan arms, is from the side, blue arms, blue body, it just doesn't work. But let's get into it. Sonic the Hedgehog, for the Sega Master System and Game Gear, it serves as the 8-bit counterpart to the 16-bit Mega Drive title of the same name. It was released in October and December of 1991, respectively, and this version is a loose adaptation of the original game, featuring similar but simplified gameplay and a mix of new and reworked level designs. While Sonic Team supervised production, the majority of the development was handled by the external studio Ancient, marking their first collaboration with Sega. The Game Gear edition, meanwhile, was contracted to the shadow developer Arc System Works. Notably, this release also marks Sonic's debut on a handheld platform. So, George, when did you first become aware of this version of Sonic the Hedgehog, and do you recall when you first played it?
This was definitely one of those ROM ones. I didn't even know that. I mean, we'll talk about the music, but people online, when I started, like, first got onto the forums and started, like, talking about video games, they would literally, there was like a cult fan base for this, where they would say this is better than the 16-bit version, actually, and the 16-bit version is actually not that good, and this is way better or whatever. I think it has its positives. Like I said, I think part of it, the sprites are adorable. The music has its charm. I think that the 8-bit is a little scratchy. I don't know. Like, I always thought 8-bit, like 16-bit music's so much better, and the Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack on 16-bit is literally iconic. So it's kind of hard to top. Obviously, Kushiro writing it makes a lot of people come back and saying that it is better, but I don't think he hit his stride until he started actually doing Mega Drive music. And I don't hate this game. I think it's a cool piece to have as a handheld, especially if you enjoyed Sonic 16-bit version. This is a great companion piece. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I'd agree there. This one, I feel like I was aware of it because I think the strategy guides touched on it. But to be quite honest, like, I don't remember seeing ads for it. I don't remember it really being in my face. It's not as though the Archie comics did, like, adaptations and said, hey, Barry, you got to play, because they wrote directly to me, like, hey, reader, you have to check out the Game Gear version of Sonic 1. It really was, actually, Sonic Triple Trouble was the one that the comic books really pushed. They gave it its own one-shot special, and I was like, I got to play this Triple Trouble game. This sounds awesome. It's got the guy from Sonic the Fighters in it. It's got Knuckles. It's got 3 villains. But yeah, this one, it really wasn't pushed at me, so I never really knew too much about it. I think as a kid, I probably assumed that it was like Mario graphics and basically the same levels and layouts as Sonic 1, so why would I want to play this? It wasn't, like you said, until later that I played a ROM of it, most likely. And then probably late 90s, I experienced it, because I did get a Game Gear and I did buy the game itself. And then early 2000s, I got a Master System, and then eventually bought Sonic 1 either off eBay or at a video game store. Probably off eBay, because it's kind of hard to find this in America, or in the States, I should say. But yeah, let's talk about the story. The story of the game, it does not stray far from the Genesis original. Stop me if you've heard this one. Dr. Eggman has invaded South Island, trapping the animals inside mechanical badniks. To stop him, Sonic races across the island, collecting up to 6 Chaos Emeralds along the way. His pursuit leads to Scrap Brain Zone, Eggman's sprawling factory fortress atop the island. And before the Doctor flees to his airship, the Skybase Zone, there Sonic faces Eggman in a final showdown, forcing him to retreat through a teleporter. Sonic follows, finding himself back in Green Hill Zone. If all 6 Chaos Emeralds have been gathered, they rise into the sky and purify South Island, clearing away Eggman's smog and restoring the land to its natural beauty.
Beautiful.
Do you think this story is good as is, or would you have preferred this to be like a prequel or a Sonic 1.5 sort of adventure?
Maybe. I mean, they could have experimented a lot on this one. I would have probably, I don't know, like, what do you think about making it a different bad guy? Or, like, I guess Eggman was the only bad guy they had, and it would have been kind of weird not to have him. I'm trying to think, like, well, what would you do?
Right, well, imagine, like, you've played Sonic 1 in the middle of 1991, and then fall rolls around, and the Game Gear version, or I should say the Master System version, releases, but it's very hard to find in America, and probably very few people in the United States are actually playing the Master System version. Meanwhile, December hits, Christmas time, kids with Game Gears are picking this up, and maybe they've played the Genesis one, so they're like, oh, a new Sonic adventure, and it's kind of like a retelling, but there's slightly different things. Like, yeah, it's strange, and I know there are like people who are diehard Sonic canon fans, and they probably look at the story and either say, oh, it's an alternate take on Sonic 1, or it's a story that takes place after Sonic 1. I'm not too bothered canon-wise, but I will say one thing I like. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, like, remember how Mario did the Game Boy games where they just gave it a gimmick where it's like there's 7 doors, or
Yeah.
Maybe they could have done a gimmick like that, like he opens up portals or something, and like that could have been the gimmick to market it differently from the other Sonic game where they just say like Sonic the Hedgehog Portal Mania or something, like that's what Mario kind of did. And then they had like a new power in the front. They could have showed some like power up in the front that never was in the original.
Yeah, and we don't really touch on the box art, but you can see it if you're watching this on YouTube. The featured image is the American box art, and it shows Sonic running across a bridge. So that's kind of a defining, weirdly enough, like of all the stages, the two are jungle and bridge zone, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. But like the fact that a bridge is really the defining trait of this game to set it apart. It's not, it doesn't do too much there. I think Sonic and Tails, aka Sonic Chaos, which is really kind of the third game in this sort of Game Gear 8-bit series, is the one that sets things apart with the spring that you can ride around, like, and the rocket shoes. Like, I think they really started to find their groove around the third game, but yeah, this one, it's a great game, but it doesn't do much to set itself apart. But I will say one thing I really like is the ending. It feels a lot, I don't know, like accomplished, like, what's the word? It feels like you're more accomplished in getting the Chaos Emeralds, because you don't become Super Sonic, but you do get to see the smog disappear from the map screen, which I think is cool. And that map screen is also unique to this game. So I think the map screen, the smog disappearing when you collect all the Chaos Emeralds, I think that's a step up from the Genesis game, where it was just like, like Eggman laughing and like saying like, try again. And you're like, what, did I fail? Like, I completed the game, like. Right. And if I'm remembering correctly, it's just like a different sort of end screen. It's not, I feel like the smog still being there is kind of like the equivalent of, you completed the game, but you didn't fully complete the game. So I think that was cool.
The Sonic 1 ending is a little like whatever. Like, I would say the game is kind of short. You could tell that they kind of got it out as soon as they could. Obviously, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is like 10 times more content, 10 times more visual effects, and ending is a lot more satisfying. This one definitely, like you said, it has an actual thing you do, and you see it being completed in the end, and you get that satisfaction. So, yeah, I like that.
Right, like, yeah, they just kind of show the emeralds, and they show some more flowers, I think, and that's it for the Genesis one. But this one, like, it actually does show that there is some sort of, like, and it really evokes the environmentalism theme that they didn't really push in your face in the Sonic games. It wasn't like Captain Planet.
Oh man, but, remember when games weren't political?
Oh yeah. Well, we've had this conversation before. Like, is the environment political? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It's like we all live in it. It would be nice not to live in trash.
Right. Right. Like, like you don't shit on the floor. You use the toilet, and then if someone starts shitting on the floor, like, hey, don't make it political. I'm shitting on the floor. So the gameplay in the 8-bit version of Sonic, it closely mirrors that of the Mega Drive counterpart. It features the same core abilities and familiar item types. However, the overall pace is slower, of course, because the Master System and the Game Gear, they don't have blast processing. Several key differences stand out. The checkpoints are now arrow-shaped monitors instead of posts, and Chaos Emeralds are hidden within the 6 main zones rather than earned in the special stages. Meanwhile, the special stage serves as a bonus round, offering players the chance to collect emeralds, or collect continues and extra lives, though completing them yields no additional rewards beyond a higher score. So when you played this game, did the item box checkpoint confuse you? Because for me, I was like, what does this do? What am I...
Yeah. I think
it was like a down arrow, right?
I think so. And it's like... there's a lot of these games, and especially 8-bit, when they had these like more smaller developers first starting up, there's always something that I'm always like, I'm gonna have to Google this. And I'm like, we didn't have this as a kid, right? Like if you played it back in the day, you were like, I gotta pay $3 a minute to call SEGA hotline.
Right.
So yeah, it could, but thank God we have the internet now. But do you ever play a game, like an old game, and just try to figure it out yourself and not go on the internet? Or do you go like, you know what, I'm just going to Google it so I can enjoy the game?
Nowadays I usually will just do a light Googling, or I'll look at the manual if I do own it. But yeah, for me, I'm looking at it here, the arrow monitor. It just pointed down, and I always thought that was like kind of like, you know how they have those Eggman item boxes that you're not supposed to hit because you lose rings. I was like, I don't want to hit the down arrow because that seems like you're going, like your score will decrease or you'll lose a life or something. And so I would actually avoid the checkpoints because they look like a negative. So maybe that down, I think it should have been a star, because stars are happy things, and you're like, all right, star. And then like maybe when you die and return, they could have a little star above your head, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But the down is just kind of like, it's almost like a bookmark. It's like, down, we'll save your place right here. I get what they're going for, but it to me, it feels like a kind of a negative connotation. So if you're watching or listening to this, like, leave a comment, because I'm curious to see if that's just me. I mean, I work in graphic design. I do visuals and I do a lot of iconography, and I feel like a down arrow is a negative unless you're saving money.
Right. But
yeah, and is the arrow red? I think it is. So a red down arrow is definitely not a good thing. In fact, I've done projects where they're like, we want to put an arrow, and I'm like, well, let's make the arrow green, because then it'll kind of evoke saving money, whereas a red down arrow will be like, you're losing money.
You're in the red.
Yeah, exactly. You're in the red. What do you think about the game sticking to the Sonic 1 formula? We kind of touched on that. Like, what could have they done differently, considering this game came out just a mere few months after the original? Like, was it just too early in the series to do,
like, innovate?
Yeah, do innovation at all?
Like I said, they could have done a gimmick where there's like Eggman does something. They did the smog, which, like you said, is that enough to set it apart from it? They didn't use it in any of the marketing. Nintendo was kind of smart by just giving it a subtitle. And I think we talked about the Ristar or Ristar, depending on who you are, episode last time, about how Sega never set the handhelds apart, but yet they were companion pieces, not actually downsized versions of the other games. I think that's a mistake they've always made, and maybe they could have done Sonic, like they did it in the future games like Chaos, or I think Sonic 2 was called Sonic 2 and Tails, which I guess is a subtitle, and it is different.
Right.
But
yeah,
outside of that, I mean, it's kind of hard. They could have given him a totally different bad guy. But would Sonic Team allow that at this time, because they were kind of hands-on about any new character?
Probably not. I mean, if they really wanted to be innovative, they could have started the game at the end of Sonic 1, and then it's like Sonic has to go through the adventure again with some twists, but that's a little too, like, yeah. I feel like that's something they do now with a game series, like, oh, the mobile version is the sequel, like something edgy like that. But
call it like
what did the game do right? Or what was that? Oh,
I
a
said call it
rewind?
like rewind or something like, and then it'd be like or remix or something. Give it something to set it apart.
Right. Well, they could have done a thing where it's like Eggman at the end of Sonic 1, Eggman uses a machine to rewind time and you have to do it again, but it's
Hmm.
different. That would have been cool. But again,
Yeah.
that's kind of going into Sonic CD territory where that's kind of
Yeah.
the gist of the game. Um, so I guess it's I don't know, like maybe we're being hard on a game that is otherwise pretty great, but
I think this game
let's
does
talk about
right. Oh, you're the right? Like what it did right? Because I
yeah,
really
yeah.
like the map screen. I think it's really cool. I wish that they
Hmm.
like did a like, you know how they always re-release the Sonic One cartridge? Like they would put it in a Smash Pack or the 6 pack or whatever, like just to get it out there. Or
Yeah.
later on they did the pack-ins. It would have been cool if they like integrated just that little map in 16-bit Sonic. So
Oh.
after every level, you see your adventure. I thought that would have been cool, but I'm sure there's some fan that made a 16-bit remix with the map or something. But I always thought that would
Yeah,
have been cool.
it's interesting you mentioned that because remember with Sonic Origins, they had the 3D like islands behind you, but they were just for looks. Imagine if they integrated that within the menu and you could actually explore, like move Sonic along a little 3D map, and then when you select it, you go into the stage. Like that would have been cool.
That would have been
Um,
cool.
it is interesting though because the first, I guess, console Sonic game to have a overworld map was Sonic Adventure 2, whereas it was kind of a a normal thing at least for the first Sonic game. I don't think they had an overworld map uh, for any of the other Game Gear games, but they did for Sonic Rush. They did for Sonic Adventure 2. And I like when they do that. I know it's a little Mario-ish, but it's also kind of a standard trope in video games too. It's not just a Mario thing. So I feel like it gives you a little more sense of place. And there's some really cool like concept art from Sonic 1 where it shows like how certain stages are actually like underneath each other. Like I think that's really cool. Let's talk about the zones. So 3 of the zones in 8-bit Sonic are adapted from the Mega Drive version. Meanwhile, Bridge Zone and Jungle Zone stand out as the unique entries. Each zone consists of 3 acts. The first 2 are standard stages, and the third is a brief lead up to a boss battle and contains no rings. Boo. The zones, inspired by their Mega Drive counterparts, feature 8-bit interpretations of the original environments, but boast entirely new level designs and, except for Green Hill Zone, brand new music composed by Yuzo Koshiro, renowned for his work on The Revenge of Shinobi and Streets of Rage. And interestingly, Bridge Zone has come to define 8-bit Sonic, as I mentioned, and the music even went on to inspire Tails' theme, Believe in Myself, from Sonic Adventure. So, what did you think of the returning zones compared to the 2 new zones?
I like the idea that they should have just done all new zones, in my opinion. But the
Yeah,
returning zones, you could tell the difference. I've noticed that like the beginning when you see Green Hill Zone, they have like the checkered patterns, but they kind of go away
yeah,
from that. So I don't know, like the old ones look exactly kind of like replicating it, but the new ones, maybe I'm crazy, don't look the same. Like they don't have the same aesthetics as much. Like they had more rain in what they did. I wouldn't mind them just doing
yeah.
whatever they wanted, in my opinion. But what's your opinion on the returning and like it's a remix basically?
Right. Yeah, I mean it's pretty clear that when you see the returning zones um that the developer had a really great template for where to build these 8-bit stages off of, whereas you take a look at the original ones and they're kind of just very basic. Like Bridge Zone is just straight up bridges. Jungle Zone maybe goes a little further, but to be quite honest, it feels a little flat. It feels kind of like your basic platformer stage. I mean, it wouldn't look out of place in a Mario game, to be quite honest. Um, and I guess that's not a bad thing. It's fun. I like seeing these new and unique stages, but it's clear that the returning ones were like demakes of stages that had a lot of time and or maybe not a lot of time, but a lot of talent put into them. Whereas with the other two, it's like bridges and jungles, and even the zone names. I mean, to be fair, Marble Zone isn't that of exciting a name, but I feel like
Right.
Green Hill Zone, Labyrinth Zone, they sound cooler than Bridge Zone. Like that's just a thing in the zone. I don't know if many Sonic zones have named like a basic thing you walk on, like Road Zone,
Shoe
Street
Zone.
Zone. Right. At least
Yeah.
they'll be like Casino Street and Market Street. Like they'll make it a little more. But again, this was very early in the franchise, so I mean, I guess Marble isn't all that like creative either. But yeah, I think they fit in fine. They do come to define the game, though. I feel like not many people talk about Jungle Zone.
No.
I forget about it. You know,
And visually, I think this is probably one of the better looking Master System games. I'm sure someone will argue that there's like this one game that's way better, but I think the backgrounds look great sometimes in the game, and it runs pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't think of that many platformers that look better. Even the Alex Kidd games didn't look better, in my opinion.
No, and I mean we just did our Sonic 4 episode 1 episode, and I know a lot of people like if they were to put Sonic 1 8-bit on like a ranking system, it would probably be up there in the B's or A's, whereas I feel like a lot of people would put Sonic 4 episode 1 down in like the F's, D's, and maybe even C's if they're on a good day. But to be fair, like Sonic 4 was one of the best looking handheld games on the smartphones at the time, and Sonic 8-bit is one of the best looking Master System games at the time. So, leave it to Sonic to wow and astound even no matter what platform it is. In the Mega Drive version, collecting 100 rings grants an extra life. However, in the 8-bit Sonic, the ring counter resets to 0 instead of continuing past 99. So once it rolls over, Sonic is effectively left with no rings, leaving him vulnerable to losing a life unless he grabs another ring or has an active shield. And furthermore, any rings lost after taking damage cannot be recovered. So, I mean, it's clear this was a limitation of the platform, but even so, with this in mind, what do you think of Sonic collecting so many rings that he actually like goes negative? And do you think it provides a unique way of ring management, or is it just an annoying quirk of the game?
I mean, it's kind of annoying because like when you see rings at Sonic, you want to have them. It's like
Right.
it's like Donkey Kong Country, having a negative effect when you eat too much bananas. It's like he's a monkey, he has to eat bananas. Sonic's a hedgehog, he has to have rings. I mean, that's just the way it is. Or
Right.
So to me, it's like no, because like I mean, let's be honest. When you play Sonic, or when you used to play it when it first came out, you try to pick up as many rings on that screen as you could. It's just,
Right.
It's just the way it is, and it's hard coded into your DNA as a hedgehog.
And it's
But-
it's kind of ironic too that the box art, at least for the Master System, has Sonic standing there, and there's so many rings behind him. Look at all those rings.
Right.
And
you
and
can.
it's also kind of funny. And it's also funny that it's the same game as the Game Gear, but it's completely different box art. So it's like you look at this and you're like, oh, it's another Sonic game, but no, it's the same game.
Which one's
more
better
or
though?
less.
The box art. Which one's better?
I like the Game Gear one more because it's unique. It shows Bridge Zone. This one, the Master System one, it just looks like you're going to be playing Sonic 1, but clearly you're not. In fact, on Sega Retro or Sonic Retro, when they show like the art assets for Sonic for this game, it's just Sonic like 1 art assets. There's nothing unique outside of the Game Gear cover art.
I agree. I like the newer art. Obviously, they should have had it for both, but I guess they were trying to tie it in with the Genesis version to make Master System fans think that they were getting the 16-bit version on their Master System.
Right, exactly. And again, like, this was very soon after Sonic 1, so like, why are they going to make a brand new drawing of Sonic? If anything, it's like a lot of Westerners saw Japanese Sonic for the first time on this box art, which is kind of wild. At the ends of Act 1 and 2 of each zone, the player has to spin a bonus panel to clear the act, with a reward given based on what it lands on. If you are below 50 rings, you get an Eggman and no prizes rewarded. If the ring appears, 10 rings are added to the player's final ring tally, and in the Master System version, it is awarded if the player, get this, if it is awarded if the player ends the act with 0, 10, 20, or 30 rings. Sonic means an extra life is awarded, and in the Master System version, it appears if the player ends the act with the amount of rings that varies by act. So there's actually like a different ring amount that you need to have to get a Sonic. In the Game Gear version, it is awarded if the player dies 3 times in an act, and then an exclamation point warps you to the special stage, and it appears if 50 or more rings are on hand when passing the sign. So the signpost bonus system is also unique to the game, but the number of weird rules that players seemingly probably did not know about is a little weird. Do you think this award should have been randomized or based on a more simple set of rules? And like, I have to imagine not many people knew about these rules. They just thought it was randomized. But
yeah,
what do you think about that?
I think it should have been. I mean, I think they thought, oh, people would just figure like it's going to be a nice little surprise for them, and then they'll like when you're a kid, and they'll be like, "What? I opened up this thing," but like, it's annoying, and you should have a set of rules. That way, it makes the game make you achieve something. Like it should have been a set rings, 99 or any number. But they should have been clear. I think it's weird that they like changed the rules between each version. That's
right. Annoying. And I'm looking in the manual here, and it does not tell you like so it just says here the bonus panel appears at the end of every act. You must touch it to spin it. Different things happen depending on what picture appears when the panel stops spinning. So it's clear that they wanted to give you the illusion that it was randomized, but really it was each based on very strange rules, especially the fact that in the Master System version, like you get a extra life depending on the amount of rings, which varies by the act you're in, which is just it must have been like a limitation of the platform where they were just like, well, we can't actually randomize it, so pick the most like weirdest rules for each of these and have it go from there. But I mean, I like the idea. It actually reminds me of Sonic Superstars. There was a lot of like randomized prizes, and they were so weird. Like, remember you'd get fruit?
Oh yeah.
And you'd get like, and then the fruit would unlock like act fruit, and you're like, really? There's act fruit? I don't know. I actually liked Sonic Superstars in that respect. It reminded me of just the weird randomness of the Game Gear games, and it kind of is helped by the fact that Fang is in it. I always kind of see Superstars as more of a follow-up to Sonic Triple Trouble than like Sonic Mania or anything like that. It's a much more mobile or handheld kind of Sonic experience. But this isn't the Superstars episode.
You're not the only one, though. There's a lot of fans of it online.
Really?
Yeah. According to our Twitter, because when I posted like Superstars sold more than Mania, there was a lot of people like, good, it's my favorite game, or I really like that game or something. So
interesting. Okay, good for them. And I guess I'm a fan too. So let's talk about the developer. So Ancient Corp is a Japanese video game development studio founded by composer Yuzo Koshiro along with his family. Established on April Fool's Day 1990, the company is best known for its work on Streets of Rage, the story of Thor series, and of course, Sega Master System version of Sonic the Hedgehog. Their most recent release was Eartheon for the Sega Mega Drive in 2025, and you can check the review of that out at segabits.com. Based on Ancient's gamography, does it surprise you that they made a platformer like Sonic and never really revisited the genre or even the Sonic series?
Yeah, that is surprising, and I'm surprised that they're still around. Like when Eartheon came out, I was like, oh yeah. Actually, we follow them on Twitter, but I think they did like these other smaller games in the past. I forgot what it was called. It was like Princess something or whatever. But regardless, yes, they're still around. I'm surprised how much variety of gameplay they've done. Like it's a shoot 'em up, 2 beat 'em up games, and then the story of Thor is kind of like a adventure game. Yeah, it's very shocking. Have you played the story of Thor series before?
I've played a bit through emulation. It's cool. It's interesting too because if you check, they still have a website because they're still in business, but they actually did work on Shenmue, planning, graphics, and programming assistance.
Everyone worked on that game at Sega. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But it is interesting because you look at their gamography and nothing here really screams like platformer, and yet they made a platformer. They also made a game called Amazing Island for the GameCube, which I've always intended to pick up because it's one of those like GameCube games that no one actually wants. It's like $20, but you're like, oh, but it's from Yuzo Koshiro, and it's like it's from Hitmaker, and like Hitmaker and Ancient made a RPG for the GameCube. That sounds so cool. But yeah, it's interesting because it reminds me of, and we did an episode on this, I think, ages ago. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought we did. Ghostbusters. Was developed for the Genesis by the Puyo Puyo developer, and they also are not really well known for their platformers, and yet they made a really great platformer. So it's kind of like, like one of those one and done sort of situations, and it surprises me because as much as I like what I've seen of Eartheon, I'm kind of shmupped out. Like, I feel like at the peak of the Dreamcast's indie game era, everything was a shmup. I think I bought like 15 of them. And so when I saw this, I was like, I kind of wish that maybe they'll make it like a platformer after this.
What do you think about Limited Run Games being the publisher for that game?
Yeah, I'm not too happy about that. I don't hate limited run games like a lot of people do. I've ordered things from Strictly Limited Games, which is the one with that little red-haired kid in the logo, and they are the worst.
Really?
Because,
worse?
People complain about limited run games, but I ordered Air Twister Collector's Edition from Strictly Limited, I think, like over 2 years ago.
Wow.
And they don't share any updates. They're not like this bit or this bit's in development. This is when it's going to ship. They are just like, we get through our game releases as we get to them. So right now we're like working on this one. And it's like, they don't even focus on multiple things at once. It's like, we're moving down the line and we'll get to yours. And it's like, oh my God, dude, I gave you like $75 2 years ago. Where's my game? It's ridiculous.
Have you gotten your Sonic the Hedgehog in Shadows whatever limited edition yet?
Oh, that comes in November, I think.
Okay,
but they've been open about that. So like unlike Strictly Limited. But yeah, Eartheon. I didn't actually buy the new Shinobi game from them because I feel like. I was like looking at the classic edition. I'm like, I own so many of the classic editions and it would feel weird not to own it. But I looked at what it came with and it was like, it's a box that holds a box. Like, that's not exciting. I want like a soundtrack and I want like a keychain or something. But like,
the art in that game is amazing. You should be putting a lot more of the art assets or something in there,
Yeah, and it bothers me that that Sega like pushed this as part of their new energy, new era thing, and they don't even give it a physical release. And I feel like I don't know how well Shinobi sold or is selling, but I feel like no one talks about it because it's digital only.
Yeah,
it's a good game, but it's like it's so like pushed aside. I feel like we talk about it less than we do like Monkey Ball or something.
Right.
But let's talk about the development. So, while not much has been documented about the actual development, some development materials have released over the years, and we can check them out on Sonic Retro. So, if you want to bring this up, it's always annoying when people do this. So, first off, we have Yuzo Koshiro himself tweeted in June 2016 an image of documentation for the Game Gear version.
You know you want to see this
it's funny
translated. Like, you want to get this online, right?
Right. It's so funny because it's like development docs kind of laid out on some brown carpet, but it's like you can't like just scan them. You don't have a little time out of your day. You can scan that. Like, it's cool because you can see the island, you can see the airship, you can see some of the stages, bridge zones there. It's just a shame that like it's not more well preserved. There's also some boss concepts here. So unused turret sprites from Skybase in the Master System version of the game suggest that elements from an unused final boss concept from Sonic 16-bit may have been implemented and then later cut. So there's actually some final boss concept art, I presume, for the Mega Drive version that they then used for the Master System. And it's interesting too because Eggman actually has a very Porco Rosso Studio Ghibli kind of ship that he's jumping into. And it's funny because I actually posted like 6 months ago some early art of Eggman chasing Sonic, and Eggman was riding a ship that had like flapper wings. And I was like, this is very Ghibli. And they were like, what? How is it Ghibli? Because it looks like anime. And I'm like, no, you nerd. It looks exactly like Porco Rosso's like flapper ships, and Eggman himself looks like a character from Porco Rosso.
Wouldn't that make you the nerd because you knew that fact? And
yeah, exactly. I just thought about that. Like, you non-nerd. But yeah, so that's about it as far as development materials. It's clear that this game was maybe not a rush job, but it definitely had a small development window, and we've experienced that before. Like, we're like, oh, what's the story behind Alex Kidd? And it's like they needed a game and they made a game and they moved on. Like, sometimes there's not much to be said. Yeah. Various sources have revealed that the game's zone order was changed late in development, with the original order being Green Hill, Marble, Jungle, Bridge, Scrap Brain, and Skybase. While Marble Zone was changed to Labyrinth Zone in the final release, it appears that the change came late, as the full Marble Zone music track is actually in the game's code, and the Labyrinth Zone objects and music data appear near the end of the object and music lists in the coding, which suggests that they were added last to replace Marble. So why do you think Sega or maybe Sonic Team cared enough to ask that Marble be swapped with Labyrinth? And how do you think this zone order compares to what we got in the final game?
I mean, I'm trying to think of why they would even do that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe trying to like add, like not put the old remakes so close together is all I could think about.
Maybe they found Labyrinth to be more defining for the game than Marble.
Maybe,
like it does. You do return to doesn't Labyrinth like appear again later in the game, like with a different color scheme? So they maybe like were like, show the Labyrinth one. That's cooler looking than Marble.
I guess I guess I could see that. I guess I could see that. I don't know.
It's weird though, right? Like, this is a rush job. We got to get this game out. We keep delaying it.
And then here comes
In fact, I
Yuji
didn't.
Naka. He's like, swap this
Right.
level for this one.
Right. And I didn't put it in the notes, but there was like a weird bit about how like they announced the game's date and then they pushed it back like a month and then they pushed back 2 weeks and then they moved it up. But essentially this game for I believe the Game Gear almost released in 1992. But then they got it to release like just before the end of the year so that it was like within the same year as Sonic 1.
In the holiday
But yeah,
season.
it's weird because I honestly think most kids wouldn't care. They'd be like, "Oh, cool, Marvel."
No.
Like I don't care. As far as the zone order, I think it's interesting because Bridge Zone is like pretty far out in terms of like the ordering. Whereas, so like, let me see. I'm looking back. I have to look back at like the actual zone order of the final game. So it was Green Hill, Bridge, Jungle, Labyrinth, Scrap Brain, and Skybase. So basically, after Green Hill, you got to experience 2 brand new zones before you got to Labyrinth and Scrap Brain. Whereas the original order had Green Hill and Marble, and then it wasn't until the 3rd stage that you got Jungle before Bridge, and then you got Bridge, and then Scrap Brain. And it's funny because Bridge feels like a very like early zone, but sticking it near the end right before Scrap Brain kind of doesn't make much sense. Like, why am I going from a jungle to a bridge?
Right.
I don't know.
I think it's the process, right? It goes from Green Hill to
Yeah.
Bridge, and then you go to a jungle, then Labyrinth, and then all of a sudden you're in this like Robotnik tech stages, and then you finish it up.
Maybe they were like, Sonic Team was like, please front load the game with the new stages so it feels new and fresh. But because of that, Marble should be coming after Green Hill, so push it back and turn it into Labyrinth. I bet that was the reasoning. They were like, Yuji Naka being Yuji Naka was probably like, no, Marble can't be the 4th zone because it's the 2nd zone. So you got to make the 4th zone the later zone from my game. I don't know. That's just Yuji Naka logic to me. But yeah, it makes sense that Sonic Team would make it needlessly complicated and ask for more work to be done just because of that. When comparing the Master System and Game Gear versions, the Game Gear version features a smaller screen resolution, but benefits from a larger color palette. Sonic's sprite is reduced in size, and the controls feel tighter and more responsive. Because of the Game Gear's narrow screen can make high-speed gameplay tricky, warning signs were added to the first zone to caution players. In this version, Jungle Zone Act 2 allows for vertical drops without instantly losing a life, making the stage less punishing. Labyrinth Zone's layout also differs, with the Chaos Emerald located in a different spot. Several boss battles, including the final one, were altered or replaced entirely, generally making them easier in the Master System version. Than in the Master System version. Bonus stages were redesigned as well. The Game Gear release opens with a SEGA splash screen featuring a jumping Sonic sprite, while the Master System version lacks this, as its startup is handled by the console's boot ROM. And then finally, the Master System version was built directly into some European Master System 2 units, and players could access it simply by turning on the console without inserting a cartridge. So, I guess with both of these in mind, it's almost like the Game Gear version's kind of like a revision too. It seems like they like patched it basically and made the game better. Have you actually noticed these differences? Because I'll admit I haven't played them enough to realize that they're actually quite different.
I only played the Master System version, and I'm playing the video now of the Game Gear version, and you could definitely tell the quality difference in the graphics at least. So, obviously it has to be redone for a smaller screen because the Game Gear screen is very tiny.
Yeah.
And when you play it on the TV, you could, have more detail. I think it looks really, really good for a Game Gear game. But I think the Master System one looks better. If you're just going graphic wise, definitely I would just go, the Master System. But I think it's cool that they re-added things and they thought about the fact that the screen is smaller and it would, you're gonna get hit more.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I think they, like I said, Sega should do that more with they should do more revisions. Not like I hated that like all the revisions on the Genesis were always like, yeah, this is Shinobi, but we took out all the cool copyright stuff. Oh man, that's not good. That's bad. Why do you do that? Obviously, they didn't want to get sued, but it's not a positive thing usually when they do revisions. Usually.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I kind of prefer the Master System just because it's like on a TV rather than a handheld, and even though I know, and we'll talk about the ports later on, like the fact that you can play the Game Gear game more on a TV now than you can the Master System one. The Master System one was made for a TV, so it's kind of weird that they're making it more difficult to play the one where the sprites are actually larger because they're meant to be seen on a TV. And yet, I don't know, I feel like there's a fan project out there that should happen where they take the revisions of the Game Gear version and apply them to the Master System version. Because it seems weird that you're getting kind of, I guess there's positives and negatives to both of them. And it's also interesting because Sonic 2 for the Master System plays better than the Game Gear one because you get to see more of the screen. So it's like, it's like if you were some like diehard, super nerdy 8-bit Sonic fan, you'd be like, well, you have to play the Game Gear one because it's better. But then when you get to Sonic 2, you have to play the Master System one because that one's better. And then when you get to Sonic Chaos, you have to play that on the Master System because that one's better. But then when you get to Sonic Triple Trouble, that one's not on the Master System, so you got to jump back onto your Game Gear. And it's like, oh my God, dude. So yeah, interestingly, the Sega Master System US version was one of the rarer releases for the console. And here's what Racket Boy had to say. You don't need to share the screen, or you don't have to share this.
I am.
I just put it in the notes. Oh, you can if you want.
Yeah, here it is.
It's Racket Boy's rarest and most valuable Sega Master System games. And this article was revised.
It's old.
Man, when did they go back in?
Because I have price charting right here, and it says it's $510, but if you go to price charting, it's actually now worth $974.
Oh, that's ridiculous. So let's tell you all.
But look
why.
look at the pricing. It's crazy. In the last, if you look at the chart on price charting, somebody like it was $633 for a while, and someone bought it for $1,499. So it like went up, and then it went back down because someone bought it for $633 again, and then it kept going up. Like someone is manufacturing the price. Like it's crazy. Like it went from being $43 in like 2017 to like shooting up.
Right.
It's like I think this is like a I don't know what to think about this. It's just a sticker.
Well, let's. So I'm going to read this. Yeah. So So they talk about in the article about the Sonic games, they give a little breakdown like we're talking about here. So they say here, so despite the fact that Sonic 8-bit games were actually good and Sonic had quite the appeal in North America, Sega still took the same PAL to North America publishing shortcut that it did with Strider, and seemed to have very limited copies produced. Now, it is possible that there were a decent amount of copies produced and sold in the States, but the only ones that are worth much more than the complete much more are the complete copies with that special North American UPC sticker on the back. In the case of Sonic the Hedgehog, the UPC code is, and I'm not going to read it, but it's a UPC code. It's just a string of numbers. So to be clear, if you look on eBay for a Sonic the Hedgehog for the Master System, you will indeed find some inexpensive games that will play on the North American Sega Master System, but most likely it is actually just the more common European version. For many years, this true North American Sonic release was ranked as the #1 most valuable Master System game, but Strider has been found to be more elusive. At the same time, Sonic hasn't increased in value a whole lot over the last decade, but of course, George just said it did. It's worth noting that we did find the sub $200 unit with a damaged sticker sold on eBay, but that's about as cheap. So basically, and I'm holding it here, I've held it up a few times in the video, this is Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Master System. I'm going to turn it over. Right now, my hand is covering the UPC code. If this is kind of like Schrodinger's sticker. So, like, if there's a sticker under my hand, this is $1,000 game. If there is not a sticker under my hand, this is what is this game like?
I don't know. Let me see.
I don't know how much it goes for now.
I'll go tell you. It is $28.71.
So it's a difference of $950. And let's see. Oh, it's a cheap piece of shit. But look at this. Like, it's a very nice copy of Sonic 1. I think my cartridge is in great shape. I'm not one of those like super like grading nerds, but I think my Sonic 1 is in really nice shape, and because I don't have a sticker on the back.
But it's not to play; it's to show off on the community that you have the one with the UPC
the
sticker. Yeah,
that is the stupidest thing. Collecting stupid, but anyway, yeah. So it's as far as sales, it's hard to say how many copies of the game sold, but it is assumed that the Game Gear version surpassed the Master System version in sales. As for reviews, the game scored highly, with scores averaging out to about 91 based on Sega Retro's average ranking. And the game won multiple awards from publications, including the Sega Pro Yo. That was an award, just the word Yo.
I like it.
The Sega Power Gold Award, and the Mean Machines Mega Game. So what would you rank this game or rate this game if you were either to give it a like letter grade or compare it to other Sonic games?
If we were just talking Game Gear in this, there wasn't that many good platformers on the consoles, so I would say A is pretty appropriate just for the console it's on. I still don't think it's better than the 16-bit version, of course, but
no.
Like, what other platformers even hold a candle to this game? I'm thinking, like, people say Psycho Fox on Master System.
Psycho Fox. Yeah, I've heard good things about that one. Dynamite Headdy, the Game Gear version, is good.
Yeah.
We talked about Rystar Game Gear version. That one's good. I think there's a Tempo, but I don't think it was released in the West for Game Gear. Tempo Junior. The Echo games are good, though I don't really see those as platformers because you're like in water. But as far as Sonic games, I would say this is probably up there as maybe the second or third best, depending on how you feel about Chaos and Triple Trouble. I personally would say Triple Trouble, and then maybe this one, and then Chaos, and then Sonic 2. But yeah, it's definitely up there, and it's definitely a very solid Master System game. Nowhere near as good as the Genesis one, but I feel like that was like the first time in fandom where, like, you know how fans do that now? They're like, well, actually, Sonic 06 is better than Sonic Adventure 2, if you really think about it. And there's probably someone listening to this right now. And people are, I guess, entitled to their opinions.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Come on. You're entitled to your opinion, but come on.
It's like, I'm just like, yeah, I've heard some really crazy things in the Sonic fandom. Like, I'll post something and people are like, yeah, actually, I think we're due for a remake of Sonic 06. I think it's time, or just port it. It's perfect the way it is. It's like, with the loading too. You want the loading with it too?
Right.
It's like, dang.
Right, and we have actually just experienced that when they did a copyright for just the term Shadow the Hedgehog, and people are like, oh, they're remaking the game. And it's like, you do know that they probably are going to make a movie, you know, or a TV show, and they're probably going to do like Shadow specific merchandise.
Remember
Like,
when I posted that picture of that woman from Jessica Jones with just Shadow the Hedgehog on GameCube? So many
yeah, yeah.
retweets because people are nostalgic for that game. I didn't know people were that nostalgic for it because I remember, at
Right.
the time, people were like, "This is the worst time to be a
Well,
Sonic Teams fan."
I don't know. I feel like we're at that stage now where like kids who grew up on those games are old enough now to be adults,
Mm-hmm.
and they look back so fondly on things that were actually not good. And
We
we
do
do
the
that
same.
too.
Yeah, I was gonna say we do the same thing,
But
so it's all good.
I feel like we don't do it as much for video games. I feel like it's probably more for TV shows and stuff. Like we'll be like, "Oh man, yeah, like I don't know." I'm trying to think of a cartoon show that a lot of people hate. Like like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I see there's been a lot of people now saying it's not good. And I'm like, "No, that show's great. Sorry. It's peak Sonic animation."
I mean, some people would say the TMNT show back in the day that was, is not the greatest show. Story wise, it was pretty.
The 80s one?
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
The original movie was sick. I will die on that hill.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I guess there's a lot of stuff probably that Power Rangers was like super. Like if you go back, you're like, oh man, what the hell was I thinking?
Batman Returns, I feel like is another one where a lot of people our age are like, that's the best. And then I recently watched it again in the theaters, and I'm like, looking at my watch, I'm like, man, this movie's like, it's just the Penguin like making faces for a half hour. Like, where's Batman?
Right.
But let's talk about how you can play this game. So outside of the original cartridge releases, the Game Gear version can be found in countless collections and compilations, as well as a bonus game. So games featuring the Game Gear port include Sonic Adventure DX, Mega Collection Plus, Sonic PC Collection, and Sonic Origins Plus. You can also purchase, or you could also purchase the Game Gear version on its own for the 3DS back in the day, and you could find it included, and I'm holding it here, on the black Game Gear Micro. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Oh my god, that
This
thing
was
is
the most
tiny.
popular one.
Well, yeah.
I'm turning it on. Let's see.
You can't even see it. It's so bright.
I know. It's so bright. Oh, here. There's the launch screen. I wonder, can we even see it? Look at that.
No, it's just
Look
like,
how
oh,
small
there
it
we
is.
go.
There we
There
go.
we go. There we go. It's all out of focus, though.
I know. It's so bright. It's like the brightest screen ever. But there's Sonic. You can see him there. Maybe I can select it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's play some Sonic.
Well, there you go. It works.
Look
And
how tiny it is.
is it even playable on that tiny screen?
It actually is, weirdly enough. Look at that little map. Look how tiny the map is.
If
You're
you,
in it. You're in the map.
If you have trouble
Oh my
reading
God.
small text, do not get the Game Boy Micro. It's not for you. But if you have perfect vision, at least for reading,
Yeah, they actually did. Remember, they released a tiny super wide gear for it,
oh yeah, that was pretty funny.
which was funny. But yeah, it's a novelty. Obviously, it's very Japanese because the Japanese love making like mini versions of things. But yeah, so it was on this, and if you bought the, they made this collector's box that you could store all four of them in. And it came with, and I love this, it came with a little enamel pin of every game that is included in the collection. So there's a mini box for the Japanese Game Gear version of the game.
That stuff has to
your
be
shirt or something.
that stuff has to be rare because it came out during like COVID, right?
The first Mega Drive Mini, I didn't like get all the little extra things. And then I saw how rare they became, and I'm like, you know what? How often does Sega release like physical stuff? So I just was like, I went all out. And to be quite honest, I think I did the math, and it's like it was cheaper to get like every single Game Gear Micro and like Mega Drive Mini 2 thing than it was to get like one Xbox. It was still cheaper. And I
Wow.
actually also realized that if you bought doubles, you could resell them and recoup the money, because people were going crazy for the micro. They were like, I don't want the micro. It looks like crap. And then they were like, they got FOMO and they're like, all right, how much is it? And I resold them for like $50 or like double the price. So I basically paid for the ones I bought by reselling. And, you know, call me a scalper, but I bought them when they were readily available. It's not like they were selling out. And then when they were all sold out, people were like, I wanted it. I didn't mean I said I hated it.
That's funny.
The Master System version of the game, meanwhile, was only released on the Wii Virtual Console and is also found on the Tectoy Master System 3 plug-and-play. So, what are your thoughts on Sega preferring the Game Gear port to the Master System version for a majority of the re-releases?
I think it makes sense because the Game Gear was more popular in America than the Master System was. I don't think I know. I mean, there's one reader in our thing that has ever said they grew up with the Master System. I never met anyone in real life that bought one when it like that was their first console, or everyone was Nintendo. It was like 90% of the market share. So
right.
I definitely understand why the Game Gear is the one that they go with, because I feel like it's more nostalgic out of all of them would be the Game Gear, because the Game Gear was popular. I owned one as a kid. My mom bought it for my brother, but I played it all the time because my brother wasn't even that into video games. And so I would have the Game Gear plugged in, and it had Sonic 1. I think it was a pack-in, I think. Or maybe it was Sonic 2. I'm not sure. But I had it plugged into the wall, and I would play it. But I'm pretty sure it was Sonic 2 and Tails, I think, the one that it came with. But yeah.
So, do you think it's time for Sega to finally make a Master System Mini? And I'm half joking.
I think no, because I think it would bomb. I don't think there's that much nostalgia. I think it's definitely time for something like a Sega Saturn Mini, because those games are ridiculously priced. I think the emulation's gotten better, but I think there's a big market of people that haven't played Sega Saturn and would love to have like all the some of the best games from Sega on there, especially the fighting games were pretty amazing. The 3D ones that they did. Sonic the Fighters would probably sell that to the Sonic fans that are new.
I feel like if they did do another mini, a Master System Mini with built-in Game Gear games would probably be a hit, especially if they focused on like the South America territories in America, because I feel like they've been making, Tectoy has been making those for years, and Sega could really make a lot of money just by making a really nice, like, get M2 on it and make a, like, Master System Mini. It has built-in Game Gear games, just like how the Sega CD had games on the Mega Drive Mini 2. I think that could have been cool.
But
I feel like Sega might...
I mean, everyone wants the Dreamcast Mini. Like, that's all I see on the internet. That's the most popular one.
Obviously, I want a Saturn Mini and a Dreamcast Mini, but I just know that Sega would prefer to sell those as, like, HD remasters for, like, $30 each. Like, they'd rather give you a port of just Burning Rangers and, like, mark it up to some wild price. But even then, they're not doing that. Like, they delisted Knights HD, didn't they? It's weird. They're weird. They delist all these things. I think, I don't know, but they've delisted so many things, but they haven't actually given us that, like, subscription service platform that they're teasing that I really hope they don't do, because I hate those things. I see people all the time going like, oh, did you see what was really revealed on Nintendo Switch Online?
Wow.
I'm like,
You're right. It's not on Steam.
Yeah.
I mean, I own it, so it says it's in my library. But they
delisted it.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. I guess I'll do it.
And they delisted Crazy Taxi. Like, they've just been delisting things, and people have been speculating like, oh, they're going to do a subscription service. But I just think that's so stupid, because we know Nintendo, like, in 5 or 10 years, Nintendo Switch is probably going to turn off their Nintendo Switch Online service, and all these games are just going to evaporate. Like they're not going to. It's not even like the final days of the eShop, and you're like, buy all the games. It's just going to be like, yeah, they're just going to disappear. I don't trust Nintendo just as much as I don't trust Sega with a subscription service. I hate that cloud-based crap.
For game key cards.
But bleh, bleh. Going back to the game itself, do you have any final thoughts on Sonic 1?
It's
Ocho
Sonic.
bit?
It's Sonic 1 remix, made by the people that would eventually go on to work on Streets of Rage 2 and and have a legendary composer. So it's worth checking out. It's not as good as the 16-bit version, but it's a nice demake of Sonic 16, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I would agree. I think having Yuzo Koshiro, who has become such a prominent person in his own right, connected to this game is really cool. It's actually kind of funny that nowadays Yuji Naka is like disgraced and not working anymore because he did financial trickery. Like, I don't care what Yuji Naka did. I think in the grand scheme of things, like, I'm like, did he touch anyone's butt? No. Like, did he kill anyone? No. What did he do? Oh, he stole money from a major corporation, or he took advantage of the stock market. Like, I don't care.
That's the biggest sin in Japan. Not the other stuff.
I know. It's so funny. It's like you can beat up a woman, you get to be a voice actor, but you steal money and you're like the worst. But I think it's just funny that Yuzo Koshiro is still making Mega Drive games, and he's the guy that did a remake of a game so closely associated with Yuji Naka. Anyway, let's read the Patreon memories. And if you support us at any level on Patreon, we read your memories at the end of the show. But of course, if you're a premium picker, we read them at the beginning of the show. Ben Hayward says, thanks so much for featuring this game in the Sega Talk lineup. For me, this game, alongside Alex Kidd and Miracle World, were my introduction to Sega. In Australia, like in Europe and Brazil, the Master System got a lot more love in the US, and most of my school friendship group had Master Systems rather than Mega Drives. For a long time, the 8-bit Sonic games were my only experience in the franchise. Looking back now, after having had plenty of experience with the Mega Drive version, I really do notice that the levels on the 8-bit version are much smaller and are far more sparse in terms of having less enemies. Not being able to collect back the rings you lose also makes things a little tricky. I did really like the idea of in-level Chaos Emeralds, my favorite being the final zone, where you have to jump backwards off a platform at the start of the level, apparently into certain death, in order to land on a secret platform. I actually accidentally found that one myself. I also really liked the 8-bit version's take on the bonus level and actual pinball zone that was purely about getting rings, extra lives, and extra continues. It'll always be among my favorite Master System games.
Nice.
Nicholas Schaefer says, this game was done a bad service by me. My favorite Sonic game is Sonic 2 for Genesis, so when I got my Game Gear, I bought Sonic 2 8-bit as well. Despite being a huge Sonic fan, I didn't buy another Sonic game for my Game Gear. It was only after the Mega Collection, Gems Collection, and Sonic Adventure DX that I got to experience these games and found that I really liked Sonic 1 8-bit and most of the 8-bit Sonic games. Personally, I want a port of the Master System version in a new collection or as a Sega Ages. And yeah, bring Sega Ages back. Why not? I don't know why they don't do a Switch to Sega Ages revival and start giving us like a Master System Sonic game. Like maybe that's the answer.
And I hate that they make them feel like they're premium titles. Like they take so long to like port over. It's like, man, they're Genesis or they're 8-bit games. Like, why are they taking 6 months?
It's ridiculous. Lucas from Game Over Hell says, being from Brazil, this was my introduction to Sonic, and for many, many years, this and Sonic Chaos were the only Sonic games I enjoyed. For most of my life, I was part of the Sonic bandwagon haters that are unfortunately very present in the gaming community to this day. It wasn't until 7 or so years ago that I decided to marathon every single Sonic game I could play in chronological order, and I found out what real Sonic games were. Like, I learned to appreciate the series as a whole. This one is best appreciated when appreciated less as a game to be compared to the Genesis titles, and more as a decent 8-bit platformer that happens to feature Sonic characters. Doing so, I think people will recognize this as one of the most polished titles on the Master System. The Game Gear version, however, never grabbed me due to the screen crunch. Get it for your 8-bit Sega Master System or power-based converter. He sounds like a commercial. Ando says, I miss the days when games got ports that were completely different than the original versions. While 8-bit Sonic didn't nail the classic Sonic gameplay I loved from the 16-bit versions, it did do enough unique stuff to stand on its own. I liked having to look for the Chaos Emeralds in the stages, and Sky-Based Zone was a nice final surprise. Also, I really liked getting a map of South Island, which made the world feel a bit more cohesive. The Sonic 8-bit games are generally underrated in my opinion, and that's definitely true for this first entry. I think this is the most comments we've ever gotten on a game, I will say. Hams says, back in the day when I had a Master System, my mother surprised me by giving me this game when I came home from school. She knew that I was into Sonic. I didn't really remember much of the game apart from I really liked it. Lots of people seem to remember the game fondly too, and recently I've been wanting to play it again. Perhaps this podcast will inspire me to get to it. EB Boy says, I played this a couple of times. It's got some neat original levels, and that idea for in-level Chaos Emeralds was solid on paper. I don't think it's that great or anything, but in hindsight, it's much more balanced and solid than a lot of the other Sonic titles of the 8-bit generation. P.S. Hi, George and Barry. He's waving. I've been watching and listening to the show for several years now. I thought it was long overdue to join the Patreon as a younger fan who is checking out a lot of these Sega titles that were before my time. It helps a lot that there are programs like this to look at the history and significance of the works of the company. Thank you for everything you guys do. Keep on rockin'. Thumbs up emoji, party confetti. And thank you, EB Boy. We love it. And I also, I was going to mention this at the top of the show. I'll mention it at the end. I actually was at a Culver's restaurant last week, and the guy at the register, I think his name was Anthony, if I'm remembering his name tag, Anthony C. He said to me, "Are you the Sega guy from YouTube?" and I was like, yeah, that's me. Wow. It was just like, it was so funny because it's there's only a handful of times people have recognized me out and about. So yeah, that was cool. So I don't know if he watches these or if he watches like the other videos, but if he saw this and got to the end, hello. Thanks for recognizing me. But yeah, that's super cool. Thank you, EB Boy, who was born at an EB Games, actually. That's the lore. So to conclude this episode, we are gonna do a wheel spin. And I also need to shout out our $20 tier picker. You know who you are. If you want to pick an episode for October, let us know. Go into that Google Doc and add it. But right now, we're going to do the picker wheel spin. There's two options there, George. This will be your next episode, but I don't think it'll be the next episode we record. So let's see what happens.
I'm going to click it. It's spinning. Wow. Okay. SEGA in 1998.
All right.
What happened?
So we're going to be talking... Well, it's going to be that weird transition period between the Saturn and the Dreamcast. And I think we're going to look at it from a Western perspective, where it's like, what's Sega up to? Because in Japan, they had the Dreamcast releasing. But over here, we were like, what's going on? So that'll be, I think, in 2 episodes, because the next episode is falling just like after the Arcade Adventure event. Oh. And I figured it would be fun. I've got some wireless mics. We'll walk around the arcade, record some stuff. I think it'll be a little different episode. We'll use some video from the thing, but
oh, nice.
That'll be that. And then the next one will be 175, and that'll be Sega in 1998.
Thanks for watching. We loved your guys' comments. Check us out on Patreon. That's it for this episode. Bye.
Bye.